No human being had ever even attempted it before, and many adventurers considered it to be impossible.
If you're interested in becoming the full version of yourself, you're at the right place.
When I set the mission to cross Antarctica, I had no idea how to do it.
How
It
far?
had never even been attempted before, let alone
1,700
completed.
miles.
Solo.
Solo.
That was the plan.
With a 400 and how many?
420-pound sled. For over 115 days completely alone.
And no dogs.
No
No,
dogs.
he
I
was the dog.
Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate.
Each financial decision is not in a silo by itself. It has to be looked at how it relates to something else in your plan. And most people are not looking at the big picture.
This is John Smallwood, and I am back on Money Isn't. And we are going to dive into something today that I think if you're interested in becoming the full version of yourself, if you're interested in letting the limitations and the things that are holding you back and breaking through barriers and being a person that you truly, authentically can be, you're at the right place. Welcome, Akshay. I feel like I'm not saying it right.
No worries.
Akshay,
It's a
Akshay,
tough one.
and Melissa, the easier way to do
Easy
it.
name.
And I'm reading it and I'm saying it now. You are the author of a book called Fearvana. You have a company that's called Fearvana.
Yes.
You have a separate company,
Called Peak Performance Love.
Peak Performance Love. So this is going to be like this conversation, your journeys, as I looked at when Brady and team booked you on the podcast, I'm like, who are these guys? Like, this is really interesting, right? So let's do a little introduction. And rather than me trying to mess it up, start.
Sure. What led me to Fearvana and the things that I do now, I was in the Marines for 6 years. After a deployment in Iraq, I struggled with PTSD, depression, heavy drinking. One morning after 5 days of binge drinking, I was seconds away from slitting my wrists. That moment led me down a path of researching neuroscience, psychology, spirituality, confronting my own demons, and completely reframing my own relationship to fear and suffering, which ultimately led me to writing my book, Fearvana, and helping others navigate their own relationship to fear and suffering. It's a universal part of the human experience.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be this thing that defeats us. It can awaken us. And that's the whole essence of Fearvana, that fear is not the antithesis to nirvana, it's an access point to nirvana. And my own expression of it then became not only building a brand, a business around Fearvana, but pushing the edges physically, mentally, and spiritually, from running ultra marathons, like 24-hour run, 24 hours on a stair climber a few weeks ago, to spending 17 days in a dark room completely alone, to most recently spending 60 days completely alone in Antarctica, dragging a 420-pound sled for 500 miles. And those have been voyages on the edge that have exposed me to a lot of depth about the nature of the human spirit. And now I bring that wisdom back to share with others.
Well, we've got a lot to dive in there with. But
Yes,
Melissa, before we dive into this, I want to, we're going to dive in both places, but tell me more about you.
So prior to creating Peak Performance Love, and it's actually a brand that Akshay works with me on as well, which is all dedicated to helping high performers develop the skills of relational courage to make their relationships their greatest asset, the thing that allows them to pursue their passions and the things at the highest level. And what led me to this was, prior to meeting my husband, spending about 10 years single, going on over 100 first dates, working through my own journey of anxious attachment, anxiety, as well as people-pleasing tendencies. And so similarly, I was diving into the psychology of it, reading every book I could get my hands on when it came to relationships. And then on top of that, looking at the biology and the neuroscience behind what actually creates connection. So now blending kind of my own personal experience with the science element and working one-on-one with clients, now doing a lot of public speaking on this as well, really helping people understand what are the levers that they can pull in their relationship and the muscles they need to build when it comes to courage to close the energy leaks at home so that their relationship can become their greatest asset.
You had a term up front that was
Relational courage.
Relational courage.
Yes.
Let's start there.
There are really 4 types of relational courage. So you think of this as, if you're in the training idea of the different muscles within, say, your core or your abs. So the first 3, you are all building those through relationship routines. And the first one is the ability to be vulnerable, the ability to share vulnerably with your partner. That's a muscle of courage to build. The second is the courageous muscle to ask what your partner needs. And then the third is to ask for what you need. The fourth one is the courage to bring up issues to be addressed in the relationship.
So many people don't do that.
No. And we do that because emotions trap us in short-term thinking.
Sure do.
They do.
And they repeat patterns. Like, because you end up in the same spot because the emotion comes out because you haven't resolved it.
And that becomes a huge energy leak. So when we actually practice that muscle of courage, we're able to close those loops. So there's not that constant drain and the constant fear of conflict around a particular issue.
That's really exciting.
She's a master at bringing up hard conversations. I'm very good at compartmentalizing. That's what allows me to do hard things that I do, but not great in relationships. She's really good at bringing it up.
I'm a little scared right now to go there.
Well, we both bring a lot of courage to the relationship in different areas, and we've strengthened each other's courage muscles, if you will.
So the fourth element of courage was bringing up
bringing up topics and issues to be addressed within the relationship, to close the loop on something. And the reason that we typically avoid doing this is because we believe that by not bringing it up, we're keeping the peace.
It'll just go away.
But it doesn't. And it shows up in different ways. Exactly.
Which is, I would think it would dovetail into your struggle with the PTSD.
Very much so. The demons you avoid within, they're going to rise to the surface if you don't confront them. One of my favorite quotes of all time is Carl Jung. He says, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." And it's the same thing, the same principle here in a context of relationship, but it's the same principle in navigating our own inner demons and our own things that we avoid facing, because it's hard facing them. But if you don't, they're running your life without your awareness.
And you're facing them every day. You're just ignoring them and they're coming back.
Exactly. And we do everything we can to escape ourselves, to avoid
Drain,
ourselves.
do all the drugs, all the stuff.
Are you a business owner and tired of wasting all of your profits to taxes? At Smallwood Wealth Management, we design plans to put more money back in your pocket, not the IRS's. So schedule your free, no obligation business owner checkup call.
So first of all, I want to thank you for serving.
Appreciate it. Thank you for the acknowledgement.
I'm a big fan of the veteran population, and I don't think veterans get enough support. I don't think they get enough monetary support. I think they don't have enough resources. And I think we get to sit here on a podcast because of what your sacrifices. All right.
Appreciate the acknowledgement.
And I thank you. When did you serve and where?
2004 to 2010 in the Marines, and did one tour in Iraq in 2007 as an infantry Marine.
Which was active.
Yes. Yeah. It was, I spent part of the career reserves, part of the career active, in active duty when I got deployed.
So you come out, and what do you do?
When I came out, I went to grad school in journalism because I wanted to go back to war. The war was dying down in Iraq. This was 2008 when I got back from the war. At this point, wars were dying down, and I struggled with life in this world.
Well, as most veterans did, because you come so used to
intensity.
Yeah. There's strange kind of peace that one feels in war. If you look at the human needs that it meets, and separate from all the politics of the war, shouldn't have gone, and there was a lot wrong. So separate from all that, on the ground out there, you're getting tremendous belonging. You're fighting with your brothers. We were fighting for a noble mission. We genuinely wanted to help the Iraqi people on the ground there. We cared. There were people who had endured so much hell, way more than you and me can fathom, right? And so we wanted to serve. So you're doing a noble mission. The volume of life is dialed up intensely when you have to confront life and death on a regular basis.
That's a daily thing,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not to mention structure is provided. You don't have to create it. So all these elements, there's a strange kind of peace. It reveals a purity about the human experience when you're pushed to the edge. Because out there in war, for example, you'll see the worst of humanity, people doing horrific things to each other. But you also see the best, people sacrificing their lives for another.
Right.
And so it breaks down the mask that we wear in this world to move through the world. And so you see humanity in a pure way. And if you don't confront that experience consciousness, as we just talked about, it's addictive. And that's where I was. So I wanted to go back. I wanted to go back to war.
So getting your master's in journalism, how was that helping you?
Because the plan was I would go back to war as a combat journalist.
Oh.
Yeah, that was
just to be there,
just to
have that sensory overload.
Exactly, to confront humanity in a very raw and powerful way. to experience humanity.
Interesting. So you're getting your master's in
journalism.
In
at
journalism,
the time, yeah.
And
then what happened was I met my now ex-wife. So that changed the plan. I got a corporate job for a year and a half, absolutely miserable. And then I went to Greenland to do the 1 month crossing of the ice cap out there.
So skiing across Greenland.
Yeah, dragging a 190-pound sled for 350 miles across the ice cap.
Solo or with a group?
This was with a group. So unlike Antarctica. So if you look at it externally, the conditions were very similar to Antarctica. But back then, I was doing it to escape. Because I could not go to war, I went to another environment of intensity where the intensity would keep my demons at bay.
And get lost in it.
Exactly.
Get lost in that. Yeah, interesting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And when I came back from Greenland is when I hit that rock bottom moment about a year later, because I was drinking, and one day of drinking would lead to two. I was building a business as well. Funnily enough, in coaching. So there's a lot about the life coaching industry. We won't get into that. But
I think you get into life coaching because you're trying to fix your own life.
Exactly,
but that's a whole other thing.
Exactly. So, there was a moment where it was rising, business was growing, but eventually the one day of drinking would become 2, 3, 4. Inevitably, business was not growing anymore till that one moment where I woke up after literally 5 days. I mean, I got to a point I was binge drinking a full bottle of vodka a day. I would wake up the next day in
no
a
mixers,
stupor.
no nothing.
Oh, just downing it.
Just
wake up in a stupor next day, drive straight to the liquor store. Because as soon as you stop, once again, now you have to deal with the chaos. And after drinking, the chaos is far amplified, right? Far worse.
Right.
So that hitting the rock bottom moment was the trigger that I really needed. When I finally actually thought about taking my own life, it was quite jarring to me that I hit a moment that I'm actually considering that, very seriously considering that. That shocked me.
So you obviously don't, which is wonderful. What do you do in that moment when you realize, like, because many people hit rock bottom and don't realize they hit rock bottom. Mm-hmm. How did you realize that you were at rock bottom?
Just the fact, because I'd been going for this pattern. I would, drink for a few days and then sober up for maybe days, even weeks sometimes.
Yeah, go do your whatever you were
exactly.
doing. Come back.
I would still be training, still be working on the business, still be working. But then a trigger would hit and I would sink into the pit, right? So when I hit that moment of actually literally picking up a knife, it shocked me that I'd been going for this for about a year and a half, 2 years even. But the fact that I actually picked up a knife and thought about taking my own life, that was the shock that got me out of this pattern. Beautiful. And it was by no means, overnight, everything was sunshine rainbows afterwards. No. I fell back into the pit.
It's rock bottom. Right.
Exactly. Yeah. I broke my sobriety more times than I can count. But that was the trigger that at least started the climb out of the abyss. Okay. So delving deep into reading tons of books on trauma, on neuroscience, on psychology, and then confronting myself, being still with myself, that to face the things that I hadn't faced before instead of escaping them. And eventually, and happy to go deep into that process if you like, but eventually, obviously now completely sober and built myself up from there.
When did you get a divorce?
It was in, I think, 5 years ago now.
Okay.
Without going deep into the weeds, my ex-wife got caught up in a cult and I ended up breaking my sobriety. And once again, I obviously take responsibility for that. It was a crazy situation. But that's actually what led me into the 7-day darkness retreat. Because I had now sobered up. This thing happened. I broke on me. But I realized that I'd been doing all these hard things, done so many hard things. But the one thing I still hadn't faced at a deep, intense level was a depth of stillness. That sent me into the 7-day darkness retreat, where for 7 days I was pitch dark, so dark you can't see your hand in front of you, completely alone, just sitting in a room to confront myself.
Can't even imagine
in a deep way. It was profoundly beautiful.
At what point did you stop being like, there's that stillness comes over, and I'm sure for the first whatever hours, you're actually becoming more and more uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And there's I think you would be peaking to an uncomfortable, but then there's a stillness that's going to come over you. How long did that take to get to the stillness?
For the first day and a half, you just sleep. A lot of us are in sleep debt.
Yeah.
Sleeping a ton.
I slept on a plane last night. I never sleep on a plane. I was like,
just so tired, right? Exactly. Geez. When you're in that level of darkness, there's nothing to do. Every time I wake up, I'm like, sweet, I'm just going to go back to sleep. Yeah. Eventually, though, you're sleeped out.
10 days to sleep somewhere.
That was outstanding. Yeah. But you're sleeped out eventually, and now you got to face it. And I realized at first I was working out to avoid being still, because working out was my comfort zone.
Yeah, sure.
And this is something you see that people will do even positive things to escape.
Correct.
Like working out or working on the business, whatever
playing
it may be.
Golf, playing tennis.
Exactly, just to escape.
Yes.
So I made a rule after, I think, day 3, that I'm not allowed to work out. I just have to sit with this
In the dark.
in the dark. Because I realized I was doing it to escape.
You were doing push-ups or something.
I was doing push-ups, burpees. I'm comfortable that I can do burpees all day, and I love the suffering there, right?
Even at a retreat, he would rather be doing burpees in a corner than any kind of dancing or anything light and fun. That's actually his edge, ironically.
I hate burpees.
They are miserable.
For the record, I hate burpees.
It's one of his favorites.
But I love the suck of it, So then I made a rule, no doing that, no escaping the stillness. And that's when I got deeper and deeper. Day 5 is when it really hit. When you actually experience light shows, like the brightest light I've ever seen was sitting in a dark room. I think it was about day 5 or day 6 where it was so bright that it was blinding.
What was bright?
It's this light that you see. They say that your brain starts to release DMT. So you experience kind of like psychedelic hallucinogenic experiences, but all naturally.
Oh, wow.
And pretty much from day 2 till day 7, till the moment I came out, there were lights consistently. And the lights often take shapes, and you can call it what you want. God speaking to you, the universe, consciousness, whatever. But at one moment, it was this blinding light. I mean, I was covering my eyes because it was blinding me.
Really?
And it didn't go away when I covered my eyes, obviously, right?
Because it wasn't coming from outside.
Exactly. But that's what allowed me to go deeper within. I was actually journaling in the dark as well. I had a ruler and kind of moving through, so I was just going deeper and surrendering to the darkness to reveal something from within. There's a difference when you go deeper within between consciously accessing it and then surrendering it to it. It's a very subtle difference, but when you experience it, you'll know the distinction. And the darkness eventually led to, I'm no longer consciously choosing what to seek out, what treasures to reveal, just surrendering and almost like now I float on the river. Let the moment guide you. See where it takes you. Exactly.
So you come out of the 7-day retreat.
Mm-hmm.
There had to be a list of changes from the journal. Actions.
What came out of the journal was really, really profound. I think a lot of the clarity came around because, I had confronted my demons from the war before this when I had sobered up, and I processed a lot around my guilt. But one of the most profound moments was actually coming out of the darkness. When I came out and I saw the light for the first time, it was so profound, it moved me to tears. And I remember thinking that...
The real light, by the way.
The real light. This was I had come out of the darkness.
Sunshine,
now. Exactly.
Mountains, whatever.
You'll never see the luminosity of the light with that intensity as when you had just come out of darkness. And so in a very visceral way, I came to understand that you cannot really know the light unless you've first been in the dark. And so I felt this deep sense of gratitude. Every bit of suffering I've ever experienced has led me to greater opportunities to access light. And so it led me deeper down this work of, if I want to guide people out of darkness into light, I have to know the weapons to navigate the darkness, to fight the darkness.
You can't guide people out unless you know how to get out.
Exactly. And so every opportunity to confront my own demons, to go into literal and figurative darkness, simply became an ally, a weapon, a tool.
How long ago did you do that?
The 7-day darkness was, I think, 5 years ago. And then 2 years ago, I did 10
Actually,
days.
It was 3 years ago, babe.
Okay. Yeah. Time is a blur.
He doesn't really do time in the best way. That's ultimate presence.
I went back into the darkness for a 10-day darkness retreat. But when I went back into the darkness, it wasn't to heal the past. It was training for my solo expedition in Antarctica. So I went in simply to master solitude, to train, to become an identity, to become the kind of person I need to be to ski across Antarctica.
How different was that identity than the identity that you were walking in with? Like, how different did it have to be?
To, who would I have to be on the other side of the darkness? The beauty was, before going in, I didn't know. And that's the profundity of it. Because you can't really know. You, me, all of us, we're all limited by this version of ourselves. We don't know what we don't know.
100%.
So if you're choosing an evolution from this version, you're going to be inherently trapped by the paradigms, the constraints, the mental models of this version of the self. So there has to be a surrender for an exponential growth to occur.
Correct.
And there's 2 ways to access that. One, you set an impossible goal that is far beyond what you can even fathom. Like when I set the mission to cross Antarctica, I had no idea how to do it.
How
it
far?
had never even been attempted before, let alone
1,700 miles.
Solo.
That was the plan.
With a 400 and how many?
420-pound sled for over 115 days completely alone.
And no dogs.
No dogs.
He was the dog.
No human being had ever even attempted it before, and many adventurers considered it to be impossible. This was the first ever
definition of insanity. Something is impossible.
Absolutely.
So you 117 days.
115 days was the mission. It didn't end up playing out that way, but that was the goal.
So you're out there. Is it like, what are you experiencing? Like the fear that you had to have with the encounters, the fear of just yourself, the fear of the void, the darkness. Like it had to be completely different than you envisioned in the 10-day.
I had done solo expeditions leading up to Antarctica.
I mean, even in the year prior, like that's why we were actually traveling about 80% of the year for him to train and go. We were in Alaska for 3 months. He did a solo expedition in Iceland. He went to Greenland. We were in Norway for 2 months so he could train with like his polar mentor to get the ski technique down. Like we were all in on this. And he did, I believe, 3 expeditions the year leading up to this expedition.
So I'd already spent 40 days, many trips. I'd done 40 days solo leading up to, not including the 10 days in darkness.
Yes.
Yeah.
So overall, in the last 2 years, I've spent 117 days as alone as a human being could be. I mean, in Antarctica, I was geographically the most isolated human being on the entire planet.
Other than the satellite phone calls to me every night.
Yeah, I would call her. She was an unbelievable rock to support through extreme challenges.
How many times did you want to quit?
Not once.
He
I
dedicated
had very hard moments out there because so what happened was I was attempting the first ever attempt of this crossing. Not only first accomplishment, but first attempt, and dragging the heaviest sled any man's pulled from the coast of Antarctica. And from day one, I was going uphill. So you're going uphill with the 420-pound sled. We got hit with some of the worst snow conditions in Antarctic history. So there were days where literally every 3 steps, the 2 sleds would get stuck in the snow, in pockets of snow. I would fight them out. 3 steps later, they'd get stuck again. And this would go on and on and on for over 9 hours. And
Each
so it
day
was soul crushing.
You were moving for 9 hours.
Moving for
9 to 10
average
hours.
9 to 10 hours.
Pitch a tent.
Pitch a tent and then
Pick up
sleep.
and go.
Pick up and do it again.
You learned a lot on that, but like,
Yeah.
what are the top 2 things that you learned?
The concept that was built, it was kind of taking Fearvana on a next level, something that I call the paradox of oneness, and what I believe is the fundamental spiritual essence of inner and outer mastery. And what this is the realization that the entire human experience is this dance of opposites. So there's life and death, there's pain and pleasure, there's masculine and feminine, light and dark, so on and so forth. Ego and humility, contentment, discontentment, so on and so forth. And we often demonize one side as bad.
Okay.
Right? But the reality is neither side is bad or good. That you cannot have a summit without a valley.
Correct.
So the paradox of oneness is the realization that they're not in fact opposite, but 2 expressions of a greater whole. Similar to breathing. I breathe in and I breathe out. 2 opposites that create breath and life itself. In Antarctica, you experience this in a very visceral way. There are moments of pure humility. I mean, I remember standing on top of this moment. It was the steepest climb in Antarctica, a place called the Wujek Ridge, and I'm looking out, and I'm literally as completely alone as a human can be. I'd set up my tent in the bottom there, and your tent is a dot. As humbling as possible. You see how small we are in this world, but simultaneously in that moment, you feel like a god because you had the power to climb this steep hill, to be in this moment, to embark
nobody
upon
else
it,
is sharing.
that nobody else is sharing.
Is sharing.
And
at
so
this
you
moment.
get to feel the paradoxes coexist at once. That was and that's kind of what Fearvana is. It's fear and nirvana, 2 seemingly contradictory ideas that are complementary. But over there, it became way more visceral, and this concept of the paradox of oneness was formed through these experiences.
Okay.
That was I'd say, one big learning, and the other is the mastery of being fully in the now to release what I would call all unnecessary suffering. So I talk about this in Fearvana, but in Antarctica, I got to experience it even more deeply. So Buddha said, we're all stabbed by the 2 darts of suffering. The first dart is the one I don't control. So I'm in Antarctica. Every day you're in pain out there. I wake up out of my tent, my legs are hurting, my legs are sore.
Yeah.
Now I could say, this sucks. I got to do this for 9 hours, and we go into a story. That's the second dart of suffering. Almost all our suffering is caused by the second dart of suffering.
The story.
Exactly.
The story I'm telling myself.
Exactly. And over there, it was practiced at the highest level possible, because there were 4 times on the journey where I would ski. I skied over 20 kilometers in a day, which was a milestone I really needed to hit.
roughly 13 miles.
Yeah, 13 to 14 miles. And that night it would snow.
It's cross-country skiing.
Cross-country
Yes.
skiing with
Yeah.
the sled.
Yeah.
And so when I would wake up, I would look at my tent and see new snow on the ground. And now it's soul crushing because I know that in the time I'm going to put in, I'm not going to hit the distance I need. And this day is going to be hell.
Correct.
It's going to be absolutely fresh snow,
2
sled
feet.
sinking, and it's going to be hell. How do you navigate that? How do you deal with that? You create all the unnecessary suffering. But if you bring it back into the now and you say, make your world small. See, consistency, which you know from fitness, anything we do, whether we relationship, fitness, finance,
wealth management.
We all, you need to be consistent. But consistency is only a requirement if there's a yesterday and if there's a tomorrow. If there is no yesterday and there is no tomorrow, there is no need to be consistent because all that is real and all that is here is the now. So it gave me greater weapons to release the mind. And that's now what I help people do is to eliminate all unnecessary suffering. You can eliminate all unnecessary suffering of the mind. And that's a necessary mechanism for me to do what I did in Antarctica because the mind will break you. And ultimately what happened is I got diverticulitis after 60 days, which is infection of the colon, that if left untreated, the colon will burst and kill you. And that's what happened to an adventure 8 years ago. So I literally pushed the body to the brink of death. The only way I was able to push the mind beyond all the suffering it endured to the point that the body broke before the mind did was the ability to free myself from unnecessary suffering. Now, I was far from perfect at it. I had days when I was struggling. She was a rock of support, I would call her, while I was out there. But I definitely had built the muscle to rise back up to the point that not once it was like, I don't want to be here.
And so much of it, too, when he would call, it was like we had a rule before he went out there, no bad news.
Yeah.
That was one of the rules because the only thing that can do for him is create unnecessary stress and unnecessary suffering. So my goal every time he called was just to be as calm as humanly possible and to offer not only that support in that moment, and this actually really crystallized a lot of the concepts we were developing for Peak Performance Love. There's a whole story in the chapter about one of the days he'd called me when he was out there, but really understanding that when you are supporting your partner, there's two things that need to happen. First, you need to validate their experience before anything else can happen. They need to feel felt, seen, heard. And then, especially in that environment, shift. Help them actually shift and reframe the suffering that they're enduring. Because for him to continue on to the mission, he couldn't stay in that state.
No,
you have to move through it.
Yeah.
So it was this validate and shift framework that was really crystallized when he was out there to see at the highest degree when someone is in that level of solitude and danger and fear, what can you do to help them navigate and move through it?
When did you guys meet? And how did you meet? First of all, because like you're two machines here. And like,
so
yeah, like this is
it's a wild story too.
You're divorced. You've got 110.
I'd been on over 100 first dates before I met him.
So he was the 101st.
No, I think he was probably around 120. To be honest, I stopped counting after 100.
Okay.
We have a really, let you tell that story.
The way that we met, I had been doing a lot of my own personal development, also went through my own sobriety journey too. I'm about 7-8 years sober now as well.
Amazing.
Thank you. And it was a journey of self-discovery as well. And so not a darkness retreat, but I went to something called 40 Years of Zen. Are you familiar with Dave Asprey?
Sure.
Father of Biohacking.
The Bulletproof podcast, which is no longer the Bullet, it's the Asprey podcast.
Yes. And the Human Upgrade. And we were actually on it just a couple months ago. Yeah.
Oh, you guys were on?
We were on it. And we were actually sharing the story we met because I had gone into 40 Years of Zen not once, but twice. And on the second round, I went in there with the specific intention to work through anxious attachment and to rid myself of the anxiety I would feel if I didn't get a text back from someone and the unnecessary anxiety in a relationship.
Yeah.
Now, then I end up marrying someone who goes away this often, who was very interesting. But in the final day of the second round of 40 Years of Zen, I actually was doing work in, I don't know if you're familiar with the different brainwave states, like gamma. Gamma is kind of the fastest
I've heard him talk about it. I've heard other people talk about it, but my listeners and my familiarity with it, I believe, is very low.
So to give a little context, gamma brainwave state is like the highest frequency. Your brain's moving very, very quickly. Oftentimes, this is the brainwave frequency associated with things like great awakenings, kundalini awakenings. And we were doing work specifically trying to get our brains in that brainwave state on the last day. So you're wearing headphones, you're hearing gongs every time your brain gets into the correct brainwave state because you're hooked up to electrodes. So they're measuring and tracking in real time what your brain's doing. And on the last day, we were doing work in gamma, and I had a vision of my future partner, not exactly what he looked like, but we were somewhere with palm trees, what our future life was like. And this vision was so real that it actually propelled me to break my lease of 12 years in Portland, Oregon, pack all my belongings in my car, and move to Scottsdale, Arizona, because I told everyone that my future husband was there.
And were you here?
I was here.
And I moved here, and within 2 months of moving here, I had been introduced to him by one of his friends.
It's pretty freaking
And we
wild.
got engaged in 2 months and
Yeah.
courthouse
I
married
was-
in 5.5
I was
months.
getting ready. At the time, I was supposed to go to Antarctica that year, like 5 months after we met.
Yeah.
And we met and we started dating. And at the
Went
time,
deep quickly.
Yeah, went very deep quickly because I didn't think anybody wanted to date me, and I certainly wasn't ready to date.
And you're both really ready to go deep.
Quick. I mean, first date, we said if we're going to go even past the first date, like we're going to be together at least till after Antarctica.
Because he didn't want to date someone who would break up with him while he was out there. So I basically had to agree to be with this man for 7 months.
For her sake and mine.
But we had all the big conversations early. And I think there's 2 reasons people move quickly when it comes to relationships. They're afraid of being alone, or they've done enough work and they know exactly what they're looking for and they're willing to go deep.
And I think that would be like a 95-5. I think 95% they're afraid to be alone, which is the
100%.
wrong reason to be in a relationship.
Absolutely.
And if you're engaging in the dating process or relationship process from a place of need versus want, that's when you're setting yourself up for failure, because you're not actually going to accurately assess the person in front of you and if you're actually aligned for the future. We had actually both made lists of all the qualities we wanted in a partner years before we met, and we were 100% of each other's lists.
Not even like 90, 100%.
100%.
Which is pretty wild.
I truly believe you get to design everything in your life, right?
Absolutely.
Your wealth plan to your partner to the way. And I don't think people spend enough time in that design. And I think once you have it, like one of the key things is you're constantly redesigning and upgrading it.
Yeah.
Yes. And as you develop that clarity, then you're able to be more discerning of the people in front of you, of wealth planning, of whatever the plan may be, the purchase, whatever that is. But you have to start with that inner clarity, which we don't, to your point, spend enough time doing.
So you do a lot of work with
Couples and singles as well.
Tell me how you're applying those 4 metrics and what, everything that you're doing. Like what's your process and what kind of breakthroughs are you getting?
Oh, it's been so rewarding, especially from the couple side of things. The method that I created to take someone through that personal inventory to get that clarity of which of the 4 types of relational courage they struggle with, and then micro actions to start practicing the muscle of courage in their relationship is called the couple calibration method. So in real time, sitting with couples, I actually did this live on a podcast just a few weeks ago, which was profound. And what we discovered was the husband was afraid to ask what the wife needed because she would say something like, make us feel safe when we travel. What does that mean?
Yeah. So,
And the problem is a lack of specificity.
I just want to be happy.
Exactly.
It's like, well,
What does that mean?
what does that mean? It means a lot of different things to different people.
And in the facilitation process, what I do is I help someone distill down what are the 1 or 2 actions that this person can take that would really move the needle for you.
Or if I ask that first question of what is it that you need in
Yes.
essence, but I can't fulfill it. I'm
But-
afraid that I can't fulfill it, so I may not
Yes.
ask it.
And that was exactly the fear that he shared. And he said he was fearing not being enough. And oftentimes, when we're expressing needs, we're too general. If you can get down to the level of specificity, and what we did in this session, which was phenomenal, was all she wanted was for her husband to keep track of their daughter's roller bag when they went through the airport. That made her feel protected.
That's pretty simple.
Pretty simple.
Yeah.
So now he's doing that. I've actually gotten texts from them afterwards, how simple that was. And then from her side of things, she was afraid of being vulnerable and really sharing her feelings because she felt that he wouldn't be present when she was sharing things that were personal to her. And so the agreement was that they would do a little double hand squeeze right before she was going to share something vulnerable. And then he would know to be fully present, set down the phone, be there, and then actually reflect back what he heard to her. And so we were doing this, and we were also doing visualization at the end because the mind is so powerful. If we visualize something going positively, it's much more likely that it does, and we set up the conditions that it will.
And your reaction to it when it doesn't go as according to plan, it's probably going to be far better, which is therefore you're going to be able to
Navigate it.
navigate through it.
Exactly. And so that's a
Yeah.
lot of the core work that I do with people, because I find that really a lot of the issues boil down to those 4 things. Pretty much everything in a relationship that's not going well, a relationship that both people are willing to work at, can be distilled down into one of those 4. You're not asking for what you need. You're not asking what they need. you're not being vulnerable, or you're not really addressing the issues in the relationship. And so it's all about practicing those micro moments of courage. We got it on a grand scale with him going on these expeditions, but I mean, we are always evolving in these areas too. Like there's still things we're building those muscles. It's not about perfection. It's about building the awareness and understanding and knowing what you need to do differently next time.
Are you doing a course on this?
We have a course that is specifically around dating, and we're expanding it to the full relationship process, but it's all under the brand of Peak Performance Love. We're actually pretty close to finishing the manuscript for Peak Performance Love as well.
So that'll be like an online course type thing?
And there's the online course, yes, that, but we'll actually have the physical book should be out in the next year or so.
And do you do like group retreats and stuff like that?
That is in the plans down the line. We have not done that yet. We do a lot of speaking both individually and together at different events. Like we'll be speaking at Fit Father, Fit Mother in just, I think, a week and a half or so. And so we'll speak on our respective topics and get the opportunity to work with people live. But retreats is something down the line that we would like to do.
I would think that, you know, with the work that you're doing with releasing fear, right? Because that's really, you've released everything that was holding you back. You've like released fear. And, you know, the 115, 17 days is a metaphor for that. People don't have to go do that.
Of course. You certainly don't have to.
This is also his personal joy.
Certainly not the only path to enlightenment.
He'll get on a Stairmaster for 24 hours, not tell anybody about it, just for the purity of the pursuit.
And you're like, where the hell are you?
Yeah, pretty much. Well, luckily he's in our living room. I actually bought a Stairmaster for our home so he could be training in the living room and we could figure out how to have date night without interfering with his training. So he'll agree to watch some really terrible reality television with me and while he's on the Stairmaster. And that has become one of our date nights. But I think that's...
We would, leading up to Antarctica, she'd be packing my food. I'd have an oxygen mask on to train in high altitude while on the Stairmaster.
Yes, exactly. I could barely hear him. We're watching...
It was absolutely
Darth
ridiculous.
Vader.
Exactly.
But that's the beauty though. And that's what I love being able to share with others too. And we love to share with others is that it's not either or. You don't get to just have your mission or just have your relationship. And I think often for high performers, that's a mental block. That's a limiting belief that you have to choose between. Yeah. So when we would hear people say things like, oh, I don't have time to make my partner feel loved, it's like operationalize it. What is one small micro action? For example, pretty much no matter what, the year leading up to it, one of the things that I love is flowers. Very simple, very traditional. And he surprised me with flowers every week without fail. And that was one of the little ways he was able to pour back into me when he was training full time, preparing full time, everything in his world, raising $1.1 million. And so I was taking care of everything when it came to our home, our finances, everything that wasn't those three things was on my plate. And we consciously had that conversation though. It didn't just happen organically because we saw this as a season. And when you're able to look at your life in seasons, you're able to both make sacrifices in different ways at different times. And that's what allowed us to be able to accomplish the things we did that year and continue to, but also getting really clear on what is the one or two things we need from each other to feel truly supported.
Yeah. I'm sure you've seen Jim Rohn's this season, the motivational speaker, Jim Rohn.
Familiar with him.
Familiar.
And he has a whole presentation that he talks about life and it's the seasons.
Absolutely.
You know, winter, followed by spring, followed by summer, followed by fall. And you know, some winters are long, some winters are short. You know, just because you get to the harvest in the fall doesn't mean you're actually going to harvest because the day before a hail. But like, it's probably one of the most fabulous conversations about life. And it's like, you can Google search it and find that it's like 3 minutes, right? And he has a specific way of just bringing it up, but it's those seasons. Like, if you do approach your life as a season, and there's a season where you're going to work hard, there's a season where you're going to reap the benefits of working hard, there's a season where it's going to be dry, it's going to be winter, right? I think when people don't understand that, and even relationships have,
it's particularly important.
Exactly.
I think it's particularly important in relationships, especially with high performers. Because there's going to be seasons where your partner is striving for a big financial goal, striving in their business, moving up the corporate ladder, whatever that may be. And the only way that your partner cannot feel like they're being drained is to understand that the balance is going to shift. And having those conscious conversations of what do you need during this season?
My wife Sharon and I have been married for 31 years.
Congratulations.
Yes. And it is, you mentioned flowers.
Yes.
And like, I love to get flowers, but I've evolved to a spot where it's sort of like, I have my assistant get the flowers. That is such a degradation away from, because even though I had the thought and I'm going to get it, I didn't physically do it. So the flowers actually mean less.
Did she say that, or was
Oh,
that
yeah.
your? Oh, she did.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to check in.
I'm not making this shit up right now. And I'm like, well, I still thought about it and I still made the phone call. I just called an in-between person rather than being stuck on the phone for 20 minutes with the flower people, because I don't want to do that.
Grocery store flowers.
Even I was like, so if you like flowers so regularly, do you want me to just get you fake flowers and we just keep the flowers in the house? And she's like, for the love of God, no. I was like, am I missing something here? Why don't we just get that? This seems like it would solve the problem.
But it's the moment of like,
exactly.
It's the energy that you stopped.
Exactly.
And you thought about it and then you went and selected them.
Yeah.
And you did them. And it's like, okay, you got to get, in the world of AI assistants and stuff like that, you can delegate a lot of stuff.
But you walk through the door holding the flowers. I'll tell you, that's the solve for that.
Well, yeah. Which now I'm actually very frequently, except for the other day, I deliver them to the office and then I bring them home.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Right? But the other day, I wanted them to be home when she got home. And I walk in and I'm like, how are the flowers? She's like, I'm like, who sent them? Maybe you. Not really sure. And I was like, oh shit, I'm back in the same cycle, right? But it's like, I think there's like everybody, I think what you guys are combining is, it takes a very special openness to have a really fabulous relationship.
Absolutely.
And that vulnerability, I think if more people became vulnerable but more importantly were to face the challenges and the obstacles, you would have a better relationship. And it's uncomfortable in the moment because it's emotional. And there's like this thing like where you shouldn't be emotional. You shouldn't react with emotion. And I'm like, well, we're human. What's your perspective on that?
I couldn't agree with you more that if you try to like sort of resist an emotion and to the point, sometimes in spirituality, we'll hear this word detachment.
Yeah.
And being attached is bad. But if you
not being detached, when I'm detached from the outcome, I can get anything done. Well, I have 117 days I'm trying to get somewhere. That's an outcome.
Exactly.
I can't be detached from it because I'm going to be sitting in the same spot and the snow is going to cover me.
Exactly. And like, I want to feel pain if somebody I love dies. I want to feel the pain of that. I don't want to numb that.
Yeah, I don't want to hold my tears back.
Exactly. So when you feel life fully, it amplifies the experience of this life. Joseph Campbell said, I think what he said was, I think all of us are seeking the rapture of being alive. And if you look around, more people than not are feeling what Thoreau would call a life of quiet desperation. This malaise, the existential dread of the human experience. But when you amplify awe, amplify that rapture of being alive, it means you're going to feel pain as well as joy. But the more you accept, and instead of resisting, we talked about earlier, right? Like the paradox of oneness and the concept that I learned in Antarctica, how to release all unnecessary suffering.
Yeah.
And the key to releasing unnecessary suffering is stop resisting or clinging what is. If there's one thing you take away from this, is this line right here was a core mantra of mine. Acceptance of isness is the key to freedom from all unnecessary suffering. Acceptance of isness. What is?
It is.
Yes.
Is the key of freedom. So, for example, in Antarctica, instead of saying, I wish the snow was harder, thank you for these perfect conditions. They are perfect because they can't be anything other than what they already are.
2 feet.
They're perfect because that's what they are.
I'm going to glide better.
In relation to our emotions. I'm feeling grief. I'm not going to resist it. I'm going to cling it. I'm going to let it move through me fully. And when you allow yourself to feel all of life fully, the pain and the pleasure, everything gets dialed up. Everything. The volume of life gets dialed up. And that's when you feel fully alive. You feel the human experience at its most amplified.
So
And I think I was
like,
just going to say, to add on to that, I think the key distinction that people miss a lot about wanting to just be Zen all of the time is that emotional regulation is not avoidance of feeling. Emotional regulation is how quickly can you return to baseline after you have some sort of stimuli. So yes, we want to experience the pain, the joy, the rapture of being alive. But when it comes to the emotions that are keeping us stuck, anger, grief, letting it move through, but quickly returning to baseline. Even when you're having a hard conversation, for example, with your partner, the goal is not to experience no feelings. That would be closing off, shutting down. The goal is when you're experiencing the feelings, naming it so that you are the feeler of your feelings. It is something external. So you say, I'm feeling frustrated. Neuroscience shows by just naming your emotion, it actually decreases the intensity of it. So if you're in the heat of the moment having a conversation, which I do recommend that people have conversations not when they're experiencing the intensity of the emotion, but as it arises, recognizing that you are not the feeling and how quickly can I return to baseline? Got it. I'm feeling a little bit triggered right now. I'm feeling a little frustrated, but it's that returning to a sense of calm that is the ultimate goal. It's not avoiding feelings or emotions in their entirety.
In your research, if somebody doesn't embrace the emotion, like a loss of somebody, right? And they don't cry, they haven't released it.
It'll rise up in other circumstances. I'm sure we've seen this, right? Either they're escaping or it'll show up in moments of exploding. It'll show up in moments of frustration, perhaps in other forms of escape, like drinking, like binge watching Netflix, whatever it may be. But when you access it fully, you can now not only let it flow through you, but you can also use it as a weapon. So for example, when I came back from the war, I struggled a lot with survivor's guilt. When I was in Iraq, my vehicle drove over a bomb that for some reason did not explode. My friend's vehicle drove over a bomb, it exploded, and he died.
Yeah.
I struggle with survivor's guilt a lot until when I hit that rock bottom moment and started learning to use my pain as a weapon. For a long time, I had this picture of my friend up on my wall, and it said, "This should have been you. Earn this life." So my guilt became my ally. I'm going to honor my friend. I'm going to honor life itself by using it to be of service, by living it, by choosing to do something good with it instead of downing bottles of vodka every day. So my guilt, and to this day, even when I was in Antarctica, there were moments where tears would be streaming down my face. I still felt it. We had a dialogue not too long ago where a war scene came up and I start crying. So I'm able to feel it. It's not like some things in life you may not ever get over, but it won't matter if you get over or not because it becomes a place you can access as a tool to drive you forward on your mission and to make your life better.
So the isness is, and it's that mission. So you guys are helping people understand the true mission that they're on and releasing them to go without fear.
Well, not even so much even without fear, but just accepting everything exactly as it is. And that's actually even how I define love, is accepting someone exactly as they are and the feeling of expansion that arises as a result of being with them. So now if we apply that not only from the relationship lens, but we look at the life lens, most things are out of our control. Yeah. So if we are able to just simply accept what is and then make choices to change the circumstances, to change the environment that we're in, to change potentially the way we're interacting with our partner, whatever that may be, it's about not holding that resistance to things not being the way that you thought they would be.
When you can free your mind from those second darts, from unnecessary suffering, you free your mind to the everything, whether it be chasing your mission at a higher level, achieving more success in your business, improving the relationship with your partner. You create more expansion in every area of your life.
So you've got the two different programs. How do people consume what you guys are doing? How do they utilize your resources? Because what I'm hearing is like, we're just getting to like literally the very, very, very tip of the iceberg. Like there's a tremendous amount of depth here.
You can go ahead.
So for myself, and we do a lot of work together as well. And we'll even do VIP days, essentially a transformation day with an individual. I'll help on the relationship side. We'll get his intake as well. And then for him, he'll be doing a lot of mindset work. But for me, it's really primarily through a lot of the speaking that we're doing. And then having the digital programs as well as the one-on-one work if it's the right person.
It's the same thing for me. So it's kind of like a peak performance partnership.
Yes.
Where even when the process of creating like a peak performance and partnership workshops, you mentioned some of the retreats, so building in that. But that's the distinction. Obviously, there's synergy, right? Like there's a lot of people like yourself who are playing at a high level in their craft, but also have a partner. And so we have some degree of individuality in our work where I, specifically to peak performance, specifically to relationship, and then merging as well, depending on the person. But through coaching, speaking, And I'm working on my second book. We're co-authoring the relationship book.
Speaking, you're doing corporate engagements.
Yes.
Yeah, we both do in different sectors.
Yeah.
What are some of the big companies that you've done recently?
I've spoken at Verizon, Shell, SAP, some of those. I'm doing a lot. I've done a lot with EO and YPO as well, and then various events. I'm speaking at EO in Salt Lake City in 2 weeks.
Cool.
And we're actually both got selected for the same stage
TEDx.
for TEDx. We're
Did
both
you
doing,
really?
yes.
Which is kind of cool. Yeah,
Which
we're
is
both
really
doing our
fun.
first TEDx in a few months, and we're
they're
at the same
speaking
stage.
separately at the same one.
Yeah, but
That's
at the
awesome.
same.
So
yeah,
it's been
we're excited
incredible.
about that.
If we're sitting here 5 years from now, where are you guys? Like, what's happening in your lives 5 years from now?
I think one of our joint impossible goals at this point is actually to make Peak Performance Love a New York Times bestseller. So ideally that has happened, not only for the ability to get it into as many hands as possible, but for the credibility that lends in the work that we do and reaching mass audiences.
And the
so
book is
for
not
us,
out yet, right?
The book is not out yet, but the manuscript is just getting wrapped up this next week. And we've been working
Beautiful.
already with an editor, and we were in talks with a couple different publishers.
So speaking engagements,
Yeah.
promotion.
And I think the
book
biggest thing
launch.
is we're having as much impact as humanly possible. There's also a documentary that's been filmed about him and the journey we both went on through Antarctica for the last 4 years. So ideally, that is on some sort of streaming service and
Working
out
on
by
the
then.
next steps
Hopefully
to
on
get it
Netflix
Netflix.
sooner than
Yeah,
later,
to get it
right?
on Netflix, and then
Exactly.
building the brand to the point that it is touching as many souls as possible in that our collective brands and individual brands, but in the realm of mastering their relationship to suffering. There's kind of a layers, right? Because what got you here won't get you there, as Marshall Goldsmith put it beautifully in his book.
Yeah.
So depending on where someone is on their journey of inner mastery, the same tools don't work. So we've kind of created different levels of progression that somebody sort of earlier on the path, and it's not a right wrong. I've been on the bottom of the pit, so I know that
Right.
path too. But as you evolve, there's next steps. So, first step is sort of accepting what is, just recognizing it. So a lot of people don't even live in that acceptance. We're living on autopilot, subconscious, right? So starting to get aware of what is to accept what is. Once you get awareness and acceptance, then the next step is embracing it, using it. Let's use these tools. And then when you really reach the highest levels, you can free your mind from all of it. And that's like the next level that kind of, I'm not even a master at, but playing in that realm now of freeing yourself from all of it, to recognize that when you're in pure presence, everything that arises is a construct that shapes our reality. And you can free yourself from all constructs without attachment to the construct. And that's where we guide people on different stages to play in the realm of inner and outer mastery while creating their beautiful partnership on the path.
I think using the tools.
Yeah.
So many
Exactly.
people will attend a workshop.
We want to see the integration.
Exactly.
We want to see the
And they
actual
don't-
transformation.
I
we don't
hate-
want you
I
to
hate
keep
the
coming.
seminar effect.
They've got a bunch of notes. It's like, I'm going to go home and I'm going to do this.
Exactly.
And they're like, I'll do that next week.
Exactly.
And I'm going to do that next week. And then they don't do it.
Exactly.
And I think if you don't use the tools that you
There's
have,
no point. Nothing's going to get you there.
Knowledge is not just the consumption of information. It is acting on that information. It is changing your behavior.
The fundamental paradigm we operate from is that learning equals behavior change.
Learning
if you've
equals
read
doing.
an entire book and you have not done anything, you have not learned anything.
Correct.
And behavior doesn't just mean physical behavior, it's also inner behavior, right? Like if your thought patterns shift, there is a behavior. So, but as long as there's behavior change, then you've learned something.
I don't think you get external behavior change until you get internal behavior
Absolutely.
change. I really like the mind. If you read it, you intellectually agree with it, but you're not actually executing on it.
Yeah.
You haven't internally really believed it.
You have.
I don't think you can get anything done unless you believe it. Like if you didn't believe that you could do the journey, you didn't believe that you could do the 10 days or the 7 days, you would have not been able to do it. Right. And it's the mind shift that I think is really important. Like 110 dates, you're like, what am I going to do?
I actually was extremely positive, I would say, after about date 60.
And your friends are like, what's
What are
wrong with you?
Exactly. But the thing too is, I think it's so important, whether it's relationship or mindset, to be around people who expand your sense of possibility. And so one of the core things that I tell, especially people who are single that are stuck in this, oh, there's no good men, there's no good women, kind of mantras that end up getting developed is
It's a bad mantra.
it is, spend time around couples. Spend time around people who believe in love, who feel positively about the potentiality of that. Because what you end up doing is the negativity bias. If you believe your lens is there's no good men or no good women, that's only what you're going to see.
Yeah. Your
Orienting yourself towards it.
Like the brain only sees what it's searching for. Like
There's so much information. We're
You
not
buy a-
actually experiencing things.
you buy a car,
Yes.
you buy a blue whatever, you didn't see them, and all of a sudden, like, look, there's another car.
everywhere.
Here's the car,
Yes.
because your awareness is now open to what you're seeing.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So I think people are playing like that program, that loop, as you mentioned earlier, over and over again, and they're getting more and more despondent, and they're going into negative things. And it's like, you haven't spent enough time in designing what it is that you really want, so you're not clear when you see it.
Mhm.
If you're clear when you see it, you can actually get shit done.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Even like, I had a woman on a couple of weeks ago, and she does the consulting to the design industry. She specializes in design and like boutique design companies, like interior design. But she was talking about designing the gross profit of your company. How much time have you spent in design of your gross profit?
Yes.
And what does the ratio of revenue to COGS need to be to get to gross profit? And then we just started diving down into the rest of the P&L, and it was really interesting. But I'm into this stuff.
I am
Yeah.
too. I got my master's in business administration, and I loved the accounting class. I loved the finance class. I was one of the geeks that loved the spreadsheets. Everything I do is in spreadsheets and Google Calendars. So
You
But
look
it's so
very
important.
much like one of my friends who went to Bentley a couple of years after me, and she is a machine like you who loves spreadsheets. And I'm like,
I'm honored.
oh my God. Like, I'm like, Jen, can you do the spreadsheet for me? She's like, oh, wow. And I'm like, wow, that's incredible.
I love the order. There's nothing that made me happier than actually packing the food for his expedition. Everything had to be weighed down to the gram. And I said, I'll do it. This is my new jam.
fact that
This
you
is
did
great.
that-
I loved it.
When I entered the superhuman thing, my wife's like, that's you. You're not doing it. I'm not cooking for you. I'm not doing anything. I'm not weighing
Zero
anything.
participation.
I'll weigh the meal that she just made. She's like, what is wrong with you? I'm like, is it working or is it not?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Is it working or is it not?
Yeah.
So this was fabulous. Like, how do people reach you guys?
So for me, Instagram is at Fearvana, Fearvana, fearvana.com on the website, where I talk more about my speaking, coaching, and the book is available on Amazon in paperback and Audible.
Pick it up on Amazon. Like, this is the book. I bought it the other day and I forgot to bring it with me on the plane. And I was like, darn, but I fell asleep anyway. So I wouldn't have read it. And I would have blamed the book on it. So I'm glad I didn't do
It worked
that.
out well.
Yeah.
And for me, peakperformancelove.com.
Peakperformancelove.com.
Yeah, Peak Performance Love on YouTube. And now I have a terribly complex last name after marrying him. If you can spell it, it's Melissa Nanavati. There's a lot of N's and a lot of A's.
Melissa Nanavati.
Yes.
Nanavati.
Exactly. Thanks for
I
spelling
made
that out
her
for people.
last name way more complex.
My maiden last name was so easy.
What was your maiden name?
Barker.
Oh, that's really easy.
Yeah.
It must be true love that you took it.
It is. It is actually true love. I debated not taking his last name.
So as we close, like, if you have one piece of advice for somebody to start somewhere, where should they start?
Get crystal clear on what is the one or two things that your partner could do for you every week that would make you feel loved and supported, and ask for them.
And what about you?
Spend, I would say an hour, but even if you're new to it, spend 10 minutes in a dark closet alone. Lock yourself into a dark closet and just be alone.
And be there.
Just be
And
with all that is.
just let it happen.
Let it happen. There was a kid who was 21-year-old kid, so inspired by what I did in the darkness retreat, locked himself in a dark closet for an hour. I thought that was absolutely legendary.
That's pretty cool.
That's awesome. And there is, I think stillness is the greatest human fear. And when you confront it, when you navigate it, it will expand your life like nothing else can. I'll end with this great French philosopher who said, all of humanity's problem stems from man's inability to sit by himself in a room alone.
I think that's 100% true.
Couldn't agree more.
Who was that French philosopher?
Blaise Pascal.
Oh, gotta find that.
Yeah, it's a really good one. And so that would be my recommendation, is go lock yourself in a dark closet start with 10 minutes if that's uncomfortable.
And think about
Go to an
Pascal.
hour.
For the record, you don't actually have to lock yourself in
You
there.
don't have to lock it, that's
Just
fair.
Close the door.
Whoa! If you don't want the kids coming in and your wife coming in and going, what are you doing? And whatever. Like,
Exactly.
sometimes there's privacy and it's like, where can I get privacy? Right
Probably the
now?
bathroom.
Yeah.
Lock the door.
Yeah, I'm in
dark-
here.
I
I'm
had-
stuck in the bathroom. Don't come in. This is awesome. I truly appreciate you guys sharing. I appreciate you being on. Like,
Thank you for having us.
It was
been a real
truly an
honor.
amazing conversation. I know we can go for hours next time.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Thank you, my friend.
This is
Thank you
awesome.
so much.